guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Neha and I make videos related to books, and today I am going to be talking about all my recent did not finish books. It's been quite a while since I've done a sit down video. I think in the last few videos I've just done vlogs because those are easy, because I just have to take some time out during the entire week and just film. Otherwise the weekends to sit down and film and edit and everything, it is a little difficult right now. But today I was determined to do this because it was just too many vlogs at once, so that's why. Anyway, the subject matter of this video is that I am going to be talking about all my recent DNF books. By DNF books I mean books which I had started reading but did not finish. So I'm not going to count those books which I picked up, read a few pages and put them down, because I'm just not in the mood, because those I don't really qualify as pure DNFs. I'm going to count those books which I had started reading, got quite some way into it, and then could not finish and did not want to finish in some cases. And yeah, those are the books that I want to talk about. So yeah, before we get started, I think the biggest disclaimer is that if you happen to like any of these books, and there are a couple of popular books on this list, please just take this one as an opinion. It's not, I'm just talking about what I didn't like about these books, but if you like it, then that's great. I think the main object of BookTube is to ensure that everybody's reading and books are great, and just to inculcate the reading habit. So any book that you read is great. These are just books that I didn't personally jive with, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it is my channel. So anyway, having said that, let's quickly start. I think the biggest one which I could not finish is The Idiot by Atonement. This book is so popular on all the interwebs, on all the popular BookTok, BookTube, Bookstagram, all of it. This, I think, won the Pulitzer or something. It won some award, but it really became popular during the dark academia rage. So I picked it up and I read, I think, about 100 pages into this book before I figured I couldn't. It's basically about a girl called Selin. She joins Harvard, and it's kind of like a first time out of home, typical college life, and she completely gets immersed into it, and she is kind of overwhelmed by all these new things, all these new challenges that she faces. And she kind of develops this relationship with this one guy, and they exchange emails. So this book is kind of has that exchange of emails, and also has bits and pieces of her life, her friends, what they do, and all of that. The problem with this book is that, for me, I felt like there was no major plot. I just felt like it was just conversations between people, and just talking about challenges and growing up and all of that. So I think maybe I'm not the target audience for this. Clearly I am a little too old for a book like this. I think somebody who's just entering into adulthood, this is a typical YA, not exactly a YA, but a little older than YA, I would say. That I think this book would be perfect for you, in your 20s, in your early 20s. I think that's the perfect target audience for this book. For me, I just felt like it was meandering. There was no point to the conversations, and I don't like when characters are just talking to each other and that is the plot of the book. I want more substance. I want more challenges. I want more narratives. I want more conflict. Anything. Just give me anything. And for the first 100 pages at least, this book did not have it, and I just could not finish it after that, and so I had to put it down. So yeah, a popular book for sure, but not for me, so I DNF'd this one. Another really popular one is Atonement by Ian McEwan. So this one's a tricky one. So here's what it is. So this is a Booker winner, I think it's a Booker winner. No, it's shortlisted for the Booker, and I'm pretty sure it won a couple of other awards as well. The thing is, you see this book everywhere in Indian thrift markets, in Indian book markets. Wherever you have bulk buying of books, you see this book everywhere. And finally I picked it up in a Lock the Box event. So the basic story is that on the hottest day of the summer in 1935, 13-year-old Brioni witnesses her elder sister, her name is Cecilia. She kind of strips her clothes and jumps into a fountain, and she sees that a helper, a guy who is a worker helper around the house, his name is Robbie. She sees that Robbie is seeing Cecilia. So she thinks that moment is something else, And Brioni is someone who has a very wild imagination. She loves stories. She has like, for her, life has to fit into boxes and she could not comprehend what she sees. So kind of this pivotal moment spirals into something else, and there's a huge like, kind of like a, what do you say? It's like their lives change forever, because which mainly starts from this one scene, and then years later Brioni is kind of revisiting it and all of that. So I would again like to say around 70 to 80 pages about this. And here's the thing, the writing is a little too verbose. There were too many words and there were too many pointless words. Like, I love detail. You give me like descriptions of things and places and settings and I devour that. But I just found this book to have words for the sake of having books. It was too verbose. And I think that is something that I see in many Booker Prize books. Like, if you showcase the extent of your vocabulary and the extent of sentence turning, maybe it's like an automatic entry into Booker Prizes shortlist, so maybe that's why a lot of people do it. But anyway, that's not to say that people don't have plot, books don't have plot, and I'm not saying that this book doesn't have plot. The problem is that I was getting so annoyed at the language that I made the stupidest mistake. I went on to Wikipedia and I googled and I searched this book, and then I proceeded to read the entire plot. So after that, I knew what is going to happen at every single like main point of the book, and I felt that there was no point in reading this book because I had to plot through this language to get to like a few key moments, which I really like. Like, the plot twist of this book, I'm not going to spoil it. I really liked from what I read in the synopsis, but I didn't want to like plot through the book to get to those. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't feel like waiting for that payoff, so hence I had to put this down. But this one kind of is on me. Maybe if I had a little more patience towards the language and I had gotten into it, I would have finished it. But also the writing, I will place some blame on it. So yeah, that's Atonement by Ian McEwan. Oh, another Booker shortlisted book that I just could not, and pretty much for the same reason. This other Eden by Paul Harding. Here's the thing, this is shortlisted in this year. So I wanted to read it. Like, when I read the synopsis of it, it's basically, it is modeled after a real life story. There is the small island off the coast of Maine in United States. It gets occupied by a bunch of outcasts. Now these people are kind of like, freed slaves, and they escaped to make a better life like generations ago, and those descendants of that one family continue to live on this island in the 1800s when they were forcibly evicted by the government. It's kind of like an ethnic cleansing. Yeah, like, I mean, very much the flavor of the year that we are in, I guess. Not a laughing matter, but yeah, so these people are forced to evict, and there's this one guy who's light-skinned enough, who's very talented artist, who kind of is given better opportunities, whereas the rest of his family is kind of put into remand houses or things like that. I didn't get that part. So here's the thing, I wanted to get into this book really badly. Like, the subject matter was so interesting and I felt like so relevant in today's time, and given that this was based on a real story, I wanted to know more about it. But again, the writing, it was just too flowery in parts. There were too many like joined on sentences in some parts. It was too chaotic mostly, and the language really put me off. It was not a good reading experience. I plodded through this so much. I tried to give it a very fair shot. I think I got like 2/3 of the way into it, at least 150 pages into it, when I felt like it was just ruining it even more for me after that. So I put it down. But this one is very popular on the internet right now, given that the Booker Prize is supposed to be announced today, the 26th of November. But I just could not, and I don't know, maybe it's a me problem, maybe it's a language problem. I feel like it's a language problem, but I just could not get into the story. I wish I would have. I wish that more people read this book, because it is so relevant and it is so pertinent to story. But I also wish that the author chose to have like simpler language to make this reach a wider audience, you know. So yeah, unfortunately this one was also a DNF for me. So another book that I had DNF'd is When We Were Orphans by Kazuo Ishiguro. This one I really wanted to like. See, the thing is, I always like Ishiguro books, and I always pick them up because I feel like I will enjoy the reading experience and I will finish it till the last page and I will be hooked. But this one, I just could not. So anyway, before I start, I shouldn't start cribbing immediately. I should tell you the plot of the book. So basically, this is about this protagonist called Christopher Banks, and in London in the 1930s. So he becomes like the city's most celebrated detective. So he gets invited to all these parties. He has all these connections. He meets all these, like, he gets involved in a lot of circles, and he is also very good at his job. So while he becomes like successful at his job, you also get flashbacks of how when he was a kid, he was born and brought up in Shanghai to an expat English family, and when he was a young boy, his parents disappear. Like, they disappear without a trace. They're presumed to be dead, but nobody really knows what happened to them, and he gets taken back to England, and he's put in like the charge of another gentleman, and he who acts as like his benefactor, and this guy becomes his ward. And so while he becomes very successful as a detective at solving mysteries, he's always plagued by this one mystery of what happened to his parents, and he's not able to solve that mystery. So while his normal life is happening, we do get cutbacks to how his life unravels in Shanghai, what happens to his parents, and how he makes his way to London. So it's like a, it's a flashback, and then you switch back to the present life and all of that. So here's the thing. The reason I love Ishiguro is while his writing will be very deceptively simple, always an undercurrent of something sinister underfoot. Like, they're calm waters, but they run deep, and they run very violently under the surface of the water. That's the best way I can put it. So that's why I love reading his books, because I always go into them blind. Like, I absolutely don't know anything about the book, and that's when I pick up the books, and I feel so engaged and compelled to finish the last line. This one, I just could not have the patience to wait for the payoff, because it felt so slow. It felt so plodding. Like, I think I got about 90 to 100 pages into it. It's a 300-page book. At the first 100-page mark, there has to be some sort of a setup. There has to be some plot reveal, something, right? And that's what I expect from his books almost. This one had none. Like, I felt like I was still in the beginning of the book. And at 1/3 of the book, that's not the feeling that you should have. Like, if at 100 pages and it was like an 800, 900-page book, I can still kind of excuse it, but not for such a small book. So I just felt like I was reading, and I felt like the payoff would not be that great, and that's why I felt like I should stop reading this book. And I also kind of was in the middle of a reading slump when I picked this book up. But here's the thing, in the past, whenever I picked up a Ishiguro book in the middle of a slump, I got out of that slump, because I wanted to know what happened until the last page and read every sentence of it and read every word of it. But this one, I just could not. So this is the first Ishiguro book that did not work for me at all. Like, there have been a couple which I was like, oh, this is okay, but that one was amazing. This one, I felt like I can't read it, and I can't finish it. So that's why I've kept it down. And I do have a reading blog on it as well, where I put this book down and I picked up another one, a great one. I picked up Stillborn, and I raced through that in a day. So I'll link it up above, do check it out. But yeah, this didn't work for me. I also DNF'd another book, but I did have like a reading blog about it. This is A Year in Provence by Peter Mayle. This is a non-fiction book about this couple from England who moved to Provence and for a year. And like, each season, the chapters are all different seasons, and they're discovering the locals, the food, how they live, and all of that. And like, they're bemoaning the fact that tourists are coming and ruining like the holiday season. I enjoyed it for the first few chapters. The thing was, it felt very, very, very repetitive. Like, every chapter was the same. Like, oh, this season in Provence is like this. Oh, the locals are so brusque, but they're so helpful. It's such a different way of working. It's so different from London. It's so different. This rural life is so different from urban life. It was the same thing over and over and over again. There was nothing new in any chapter. Like, there was a little bit when they transitioned from like winter to summer. Obviously, I give credit to the seasons and not to the writer for this. But after that, it just felt like the same thing, and I didn't like that. So I put this down. I did have a reading blog on this, a very, very failed reading blog, I would say, where I didn't finish any book, which I'll link up above if you want to see. But yeah, this one was another book that I did not finish. So yeah, those are all the books that I have DNF'd in the year of 2023. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you enjoyed this video where I was a little more unfiltered with my opinions, for sure. Please like, share, comment, subscribe if you're still watching, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.